People of God, how are you? I pray that you guys have had an amazing day. I would say happy Wednesday, but today is Thursday. I am recording today's message right here. I'm going to be dealing with an obsession case that I found, and I wanted to deal with that. And um, not only that, I wanted to talk about the spirit of obsession. So do me a favor as you guys come in here, let me know that you are here. I believe it's going to be good. I believe that you'll get something from this. Um, I genuinely believe that every young person should hear this, and I'm not saying if you're an older person that this is not going to be beneficial or helpful to you. I do believe it will help you as well. I'm going to be helping you to understand how obsession works and what you should do to avoid it. So hey, beautiful, how are you? Hey, gorgeous, thank you. But I want to help you to deal with it. But I also want to talk about it. I got to let people come in before I give this particular disclaimer. Um, because right now we don't have that many people in. Oh, y'all coming in? Okay, I see you. Y'all coming in. I'm gonna let the room fill up before I get started. And forgive the little rolling car in the background. If I was to move out the way, you would see boxes galore. Sister Elizabeth, you are beautiful. You're beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. You will see boxes galore. And I had a bunch of boxes that come the other day. They put them at both of my doors. And by the grace of God, in two trips in my car, I was able to transfer pretty much all of those except for one box. Pretty much all of those. So I got like 8 boxes behind me now. Maybe not that many. Probably about 6 boxes behind me now of stuff that just came in, along with that other box that I was unable to transport because of its size. I am making arrangements now to have it transported, and a lot of these pieces assembled. But as you come in, guys, do me a favor. Be sure to like and share, because before I get started, I want to make sure that I give a disclaimer, because it is necessary. If I don't get this disclaimer, there's going to be a lot of hate comments, a lot of people who misunderstand what I'm doing. So I do want to make sure that we get enough people in here before I start giving the disclaimer. So do me a favor as you're coming in, like and share. Sister Octavia, you are beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you. Thank you, guys, for everybody that has sown a seed, everybody that will sow a seed. Let me just go ahead and say thank you. I really, truly appreciate you. And you already know, as you can see, it's not going to a bad cause, because right now I have been spending tens and thousands of dollars. Okay, I'm trying to stock up that office. So I do appreciate you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Facebook, if you're in the room, let me know that you're in the room. I don't know if I tag Facebook. Okay, I see somebody. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the share button. That's the only way I'll see. Over here, I just see Facebook. I just see YouTube engaging. I don't see Facebook except for a couple of comments. So do me a favor, if you're on Facebook, be sure to hit the like button, hit the share button. If you're on YouTube, hit like, share, and if you have not already subscribe. Okay, so I have to give this disclaimer. I want to get 100 people in here before I give the disclaimer, because as soon as I give this disclaimer, a lot of people will be in here or what have you. So that makes me say, well, let's just get into story time as the room begins to fill up. Um, as you guys know, I've dealt with many cases of obsession whenever I was a young woman, because anytime you play with seduction, you will always come in contact with obsession. I'm going to say that again. Anytime you play with seduction, you will always come in contact with obsession. I played with seduction. I was going to say abduction. I played with seduction, and of course, because of that, I came in contact with obsession. Sister Keisha, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you, sis. I saw somebody else that had sown right before I went live. Let me see who that was. Sister Shelby. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. But anytime you play with obsession, you will always come in contact with seduction. And seduction will lead to you being abducted. You guys know the story about the guy that I used to date. I barely dated the dude. I dated him for like 2 months, if that. Yeah, I think I dated him like 2 months. I was in the world at the time. And this is the guy that came pick me up in the pickup truck after I had broken it off with him. And I did a lot of the stuff that I'm going to advise you not to do. What this young lady did, I did a lot of stuff that she did, and it ended up in me being in a pickup truck with no handle on the door. About to go where I didn't want to go, being taken against my will, simply because I played with seduction, and I did like a lot of young women did. I thought that I can talk some sense into somebody who had a demonized mind. I thought that I could sit there and I can get him to understand things from my perspective. I thought that if I really sat down and I explained to him, he'll say, I didn't think of that. You know what, Tiffany, I apologize, or what have you. And that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that they can talk to people and get them to understand things from their point of view. So let me pull this story up. I want to make sure that I have it up. Um, but again, I also want to make sure that here we go. I also want to make sure that I give this disclaimer. Let me see how many people have come into the room. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and start off with a disclaimer. The disclaimer is this, Brother Andre, I love you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, man of God. I want to give this disclaimer. What I'm about to say in this can be offensive to people who just already have their minds made up as to, hey, we should be able to do what we want. We don't have to worry about these crazy dudes. Or for a guy that thinks, hey, Tiffany, I think that you should tell women differently. You should tell women they can be able to wear nipple pads out the door or what have you. You should speak to the because this is a story of a man stalking a woman. Let me just go ahead and say that. You should speak to the men who stalk women. But how many of you know God said, he that has ears to hear, let them hear? So you have to understand, like when I was a young lady and I dealt with that obsessed ex, when I was trying to end a relationship with him, there was no reasoning with somebody who's demonized. And so a lot of times we make the mistake of not saying, hey, sis, let me protect you by giving you wisdom. Let me help you to protect yourself so that you don't fall into that trap. Instead, you will have people that will come up on this internet and they will argue and say, hey, you should speak to the men. The Bible says, don't cast your pearls to swine. And I'm not talking about all men. I'm talking about the demonized ones. I'm talking about the ones who obsess over women. I'm talking about the ones that will kidnap you, the ones that will kill you. I'm talking about them. When you're dealing with a demonized human being, there is no reasoning with them. So if I came out and did a message to a bunch of demonized dudes, I just spoke for no reason, honestly, because they're not going to listen to that. When you're dealing with a demonized individual, whether it be a male or female, they don't know that they're demonized. They genuinely believe that they're right. They got a spirit of Leviathan, a very strong spirit of pride. So no amount of reasoning is going to reach them. So I'm saying that to say, when teaching, you always reach out to the reachable. Am I making sense? When teaching, you reach out to the reachable. You don't come out here. I can't come out here and say, ladies, okay, here, girl, put your G string on. You hear me? That's pride. The Bible says God hates pride. A prideful look or what have you, and pride goes before destruction. A haughty look before a fall. Right before you catch a bullet, but right before you fall down for the last time, right before you give up the ghost, you typically will have a prideful look. And if you listen to prideful people who tell you, girl, go out there in your G string, okay, you should be able to bend over how you want to bend over. If her man can't handle himself, if that man can't handle themselves, so be it. Then you find yourself in a situation that this young lady found herself in. Not that she did any of those things, but then you find yourself coming in contact with an obsessed individual. Now you'll come in contact with plenty of men that look at you and go, dang, girl. They may give you a lot of wanted attention or unwanted attention. They may do a lot of things, but most men, for the most part, know how to back off. Most men understand that, hey, once you put up that I'm not interested, they will just go ahead and back off. But there are some guys out there demonized. And it's only a matter of time before you come in contact with somebody who's incredibly demonized, who deals with obsession, somebody who's probably watching porn, somebody who's sitting back, got mommy issues, rejection issues, abandonment issues. It's only a matter of time before you come in contact with somebody like that. And it's not going to look like that Leroy dude that you sat back and said, Leroy, I told you for the third time, stop calling me. It's not going to look like that. No, it will look like what happened between this young lady. So I'm giving that disclaimer because I don't want to have the feminist perspective. You need to speak to these men. Basically, you need to throw your pearls to the swine. And like I said, when I say to these men, I'm talking about the ones that are demonized. That one, they're not looking for wisdom online. Let's just get that out the way. They're not looking for wisdom online. When you're dealing with a demonized human being, they're not on YouTube listening, looking for wisdom. Demonized people want confirmation, not information. They're not going to listen to anybody that tells them anything. So my objective is to speak to those ladies that have some sense, that have that are sober, and also for men who listen to this who are sober minded. You can take some lessons from this. So if you ever see a woman in distress, you can step in, and we need to get back to those days where you guys begin to step in. If you ever see a woman in distress, and I do get it, sometimes you see a woman in distress and it can be between her and her boyfriend, right? And you try not to get involved, but listen for the cues, listen for the signs that you should particularly, potentially get involved in a situation, because it can make the difference between it can make a difference between life and death. Also, to the young lady, somebody sent me something about the EMTs. They took the life of this guy by strapping him down too tight. They were obviously pretty racist. I will likely deal with that in another message. I'm thinking about going live after this live. I don't know. It depends on how long this live goes and how I feel after the fact. I want to deal with that, but not too heavily, because the video is incredibly triggering. And then racism for me is a very sensitive subject. I love to talk about racism. I love to talk about all of those things. But if you guys know, even when I start talking about this, I am a mediator, which means I typically see things from the middle. I don't see things, I'm not an extremist. I don't see things from the right or from the left. The Bible calls this a justice, justified. So I'm in the middle. So this is what brings balance, right? So I may deal with the topic tonight. I may not. If I don't, I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. Okay, so this article that I'm about to read to you is on msn.com. If you want to read it, it is entitled "Obsessed Man Jail for Locking Teen in His Vehicle for Over 100 Miles." Okay, Cavendish Press. I see Cavendish Press. Cavendish Press, Manchester. So this is in England. But this, we already know this happens a lot in the United States as well. But and it's also, I see Daily Mail, but obsessed man jail for locking teen in his vehicle for over 100 miles. And this is a little bit of reading, so just kind of bear with me. Pay attention to what and I'm gonna give you 5 mistakes that I saw that she made. She made a lot of mistakes. And notice again, I'm not talking about the guy. Obviously, he made mistakes because he became obsessed with her. He tried to, well, he successfully kidnapped her. He did a lot of crazy stuff, as you'll see that I'm about to read. But there's no way you're going to reach that man. So let's just keep that in mind. So anyhow, this happened some time ago. I think he just got sentenced, and so this is the reason why they're putting this article up. So let's go ahead and get into it. Obsessed man jail for locking teen in his vehicle for over 100 miles. An obsessed admirer who bombarded a doctor's receptionist with text messages every 2 seconds and locked her in a car for an 100-mile road trip as he begged her to marry him has been jailed for 3 years. Erin Dolphin, 19, had done nothing to suggest she wanted romance with former marketing boss Tosif Patel, 33, but he tried to woo her for almost a year after he met her through a friend. During his campaign to seduce the victim, Patel, who had previously caused a crash which killed a 16-year-old girl, he was on a date with, showered Miss Dolphin with messages, gifts, and money. From here, we already know that this man is into young women. He's probably into child porn because he has an obsession with young women. I'm going to read that last line again. Now, as you see her mistakes, raise your hand. As I'm talking, you will see her mistakes or what have you. And she acknowledges that she made mistakes. So this is in no way to shame her. The objective here is so that other young women won't make that mistake, because by the grace of God, she's still breathing. But this could have taken an even uglier turn, and it could have cost her life. And we could be reading about her in past tense. Thankfully, she's still here. So during his campaign to seduce the victim, Patel, who had previously caused a car crash which killed a 16-year-old girl he was on a date with, showered Miss Dolphin with messages, gifts, and money. When she rebuffed his advances, Patel created social media accounts calling her an expletive and an expletive. They don't tell you the word, thankfully. They just say expletive. And in one 20-minute period, sent her 185 texts and a further 1,000 messages in just 8 hours. Patel of Bolton, Greater Manchester, UK, was eventually arrested after he forced Miss Dolphin on a 100-mile Transpennine, I may be saying that wrong, road trip lasting more than 5 hours, which he locked her in his vehicle and begged her to accept his marriage proposal. He also tried to smear the victim as a junkie to her work colleagues, even turning up uninvited at the place where she worked to speak to her boss. In a tearful statement, Miss Dolphin from West Houghton told police, "I lost my appetite and was unable to sleep due to what was going on. I was scared to go to work, and this behavior affected my relationships and friendships with others. Going home is now a misery. I can't eat, sleep, or anything. I don't even want to go out and socialize anymore. He has made me feel like a bad person. At Bolton Crown Court, Patel admitted stalking, causing serious harm and distress and false imprisonment, and was jailed for 3 years. Earlier, the court heard the offenses occurred between July 2021 and June 2022, 18 months after Patel met Ms. Dolphin through her ex boyfriend. Mr. Patrick Williamson, prosecuting said she and the defendant had never been in a relationship and nothing she said or did ever gave him the impression otherwise. But he sent a considerable amount of messages to Miss Dolphin. At first, they seemed harmless, but he then started to tell her he loved her, saw that they had a future together, and that he wanted to get to know her. She was clear with him from the start that she did not want to be in a relationship with him, but he sought to contact her by creating online social media accounts called, and it just says expletive and expletive. He added she blocked him repeatedly, but this did not deter the defendant, who showered her with unwanted gifts and turning up at her home with food, alcohol, and posting money through her front door. He would also pay money to her into her account simply as a way of persuading her to talk to him, and he also befriended her 15-year-old brother. This soured her relationship with her brother to the extent she even blocked him on social media. Being young, Miss Dolphin accepted the money, not fully realizing the signal this might send. But then he made the distasteful comment to her, the only way you can repay all this is to sleep with me. He would make threats to approach her employer and make accusations about her. She was very scared. He would carry them out. He would also follow her to friends' addresses and then bang on the doors. When Miss Dolphin broke her phone, the defendant replaced it with the latest model, with Miss Dolphin herself saying, "Me being a young lady is silly, I took the phone." The sinister aspect of this was the defendant was able to access the billing and usage of the phone to constantly monitor her interactions. He also sent her messages on a daily basis, about 1,000 and 1 8-hour period alone. When she was actually speaking to police about him, Ms. Dolphin received 185 messages in a 20-minute period. He engaged in rambling monologues, fluctuating in emotions, some seeking forgiveness, others being highly abusive. He sent her the draft of a letter he proposed to send to her employer, reporting she used controlled substances. In April last year, Ms. Dolphin was leaving a lunchtime work event in Manchester when Patel pulled up alongside her in her car. Mr. Williamson added she didn't want to create a scene in front of her work colleagues, so she got in and expected him to drive her home. But she then started to see the road signs for leads, and when she asked to be taken home, he proceeded to drive around for the next 5 hours. He continued. He continued. He told her she was his girl, that he wanted to marry her and have children with her. They drove to Bradford where they had a meal together, although she only agreed to appease him. On the way back to the motorway, a heated argument started between them. He told her to take her shoes off and give him her phone. He then stopped and told her to get out of the car. She started to walk down the carriageway before he pulled up again and told her to get back in. He drove her to Shorley, where he parked up and locked the car door. She was crying and asked to be taken home, but he started crying his eyes out, saying, "Please be with me. I'm really sorry. I would never hurt you." She was in the defendant's car for a considerable period of time against her will before he eventually dropped her off at home without her shoes or phone. Miss Dolphin failed to attend work the following day and confessed her ordeal when disciplined by her boss. However, Patel would still laud her outside of the surgery center on various occasions, forcing her to take a taxi instead of the bus to the office. In one incident, she ran to her back office crying, he's here," whilst Patel spoke to colleagues saying he wanted to make a complaint. Police were called after the surgery manager drove Miss Dolphin home to avoid her having any contact with her tormentor. When interviewed, Patel falsely claimed he had been in an intimate relationship with Miss Dolphin and had given money and food to her. In 2009, Patel, then 18, was jailed for 30 months for causing death by dangerous driving. Schoolgirl Zainab Lala, 16, was flung from his BMW and killed when he crashed a vehicle while showing off to her on the A675 between Belmont and Abbey Village, Lancashire. If I'm saying it wrong, forgive me, guys. At the time, it emerged that pair had defied attempts to keep them apart due to their religion to go on a date in Blackpool. In mitigation, Mr. Graham Richton said, sadly, he is a man who has been in a decline for a number of years. He had a number of senior roles with him, marketing as the head of marketing, and his outlook did at one time look positive. But he had a battle against cancer, and after being made unemployed, he developed mental illness issues. Against the background, he became fixated on this young lady as a part to the point of obsession. Let me see if I want to read any more of this. Okay, we can leave it at that. We can leave it at that. Again, this comes from MSN.com. It comes on the Daily Mail, and the title again is "Obsessed Man Jail for Locking Teen in His Vehicle for 100 Miles." One thing I want to go ahead and say: 9 times out of 10, when it comes down to this particular situation, the 16-year-old girl that lost her life, that may have been something intentional on his part. So I don't think he was properly charged with that particular. He just said he was showing off, and so she lost her life while they were showing off. But 9 times out of 10, it was a case like that. That's just me talking. 9 times out of 10, it was a situation that mirrored that one. Whereas this 16-year-old girl's in a car with him, and she's probably, because they said that she was defying all attempts or what have you. He was doing to her what he's doing to that 19-year-old. He's probably giving her gifts, giving her money, and she was being a typical 16-year-old. She's taking the gifts and all that, but she doesn't want this old man. And she probably communicated that with him in the car. I've been in a car with a crazed man before that got really angry and started going 100 miles per hour, threatening to kill me because I wouldn't give in to his demands. So I do know situations like that, whether he lost control of the car or he intentionally crashed the car. I think he should have been charged with that young girl's murder. But that's just my thing. Okay. So I'm going to give you 5 mistakes that this young lady made. But one of the things I want to go ahead and say, I want to go on record with saying this again. I'm in no way blaming her. She's already accepted her wrongs. If I had read the rest of it, which I did before I came on here, she accepts her mistakes, all of this. And then 2, again, I cannot reach out to the demonized person. A man who's crazy is not going to listen to this. So we need to reach out to the people who can hear. So this is in no way the victim shame, the victim blame. This is more so, and y'all see me getting dog hair off of me, but this is more so to say, this is how you protect yourself. So you can learn from her mistakes. So this is what our objective is, to learn from her mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes she made as you're reading that, but I'm going to mention 5 of them. The first one is entertaining the guy through text messages. That's the first mistake. The moment you make it up in your mind you're not interested in a person, you don't continue entertaining them if they are making it clear that they are interested in you or were interested in you. I told you guys a story about my friend girl trying to hook me up with a guy about 2 years ago. And I ignored. Like, she came and she bought the cell phone to me at church. I looked at it. I said no. And I bought her the phone back. And she was like, well, hey, he was staying in her Airbnb at the time. And so, long story short, I ignored what I felt. I ignored that because she was putting pressure on me. And, nothing against her, but she was putting pressure on me. And she was telling me, you don't ever give a person a chance. And I started thinking, well, maybe, I can't talk to him. It's not going to hurt to talk to him. Well, when I got on the phone with this guy, I talked to him, come to find out he had an issue against the church. So he told me the book that he was writing, because that was another reason she connected me, because he needed his book published. But he told me that the book he was writing was pretty much against the church. Like, basically he hated organized religion and all that. And I was like, okay. So the first thing that I did was, in that moment, I communicated. I ministered to him, but I also took that time to communicate to him quickly, I'm not your wife. And he said, wait, what are you talking about? I don't even know you. I said, she introduced me to you thinking that I was going to be your wife. She introduced you to me thinking that, we have potential or what have you. So I'm saying we can't be in a relationship. I'm just putting that out there because I'm going ahead and I'm establishing that, because if I didn't say anything, then there would be this assumption lingering. Did you get that? There would be this assumption lingering. And with that assumption lingering, he could say 5 months down the road, why didn't you tell me? Why do you didn't say anything when you realized that? So I went ahead and communicated, hey, there's nothing that's going to come of this between me and you, or what have you. So I communicated that with him. And what that did, check this out, it made his demons surface all the more. It made his demons surface because he would not let that go. He would not let that go. So I made it clear to him. I tried to talk to him because he wanted to publish a book. After I made that clear that I wasn't publishing his book and all that, there was no reason for us to keep communicating. However, I felt bad for a few seconds, so I let him call me even after I communicated that, and what have you, because he made it look like he was accepting me ministering to him. So I thought I was ministering, but this guy had another thing, but he just would jump right back into the conversation. I can't even believe I don't even know you, and you just gonna sit up here and tell me you don't know me, you don't know my story, you don't my. And I'm like, I'm not saying I don't. I'm not saying that I know your story. What I'm saying is she introduced you to me, thinking that you could potentially be the man for me because you said you were Christian, you were a graphic designer, and you were writing a book. Those are three things that align with who I am. You're in my age category, so she assumed, oh my God, I think I met Tiffany's husband. So, Nugget, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you. So, I'm communicating. He told me this story about an ex of his that dragged him on for, I think, 2, 3 years or what have you, playing mind games with him. And I said, see, I'm not doing that. I'm making it clear from the jump. So, you complain. How you going to complain about her, playing these games with you when you get a woman on the phone who just straight up tell you, no, nothing's going to come of this, what have you. Then you get mad. So entertaining the guy through text messaging, once you realize, hey, this ain't him, you need to cut off all communication, especially if he's still locked and loaded on you. You need to cut off all communication. Number two, not changing her phone number. This is where we get into people want to get mad at me, okay? Why should I have to change my phone number? Because he's crazy. Because then you'll get 185 messages in 20 minutes. You'll get 1,000 messages in an 8-hour period. You can end up dealing with somebody who's constantly messing with your phone. Okay. So you don't want to sit there and keep that same phone number. If I got an obsessed dude that's calling my phone, that's texting my phone, I'm changing my phone number. It only costs $10 with most providers. It only costs $10 with most providers. So it's safer for me to change my number, or better yet, let me use a spiritual language, to cut off all access, to cut off every line that he would try to connect with me to cut off access in all these different routes, rather than for him to constantly have access to my mind where I got to deal with these text messages. And then let me go ahead and argue with somebody that may say, and I haven't had anybody say it, but somebody may say, I just block them. You obviously never dealt with a stalker before. Because when it comes down to blocking, a stalker they will download an app that would allow them to call you. They will change their phone number to call you. I remember breaking up with a dude when I was about yeah, it still is worth it. $40 worth peace of mind. But I remember breaking up with a dude that I was engaged to. I was 19 years old and found out he had tried to cheat on me, right? So I broke it off with him and what have you. And of course, he did what anybody would do who, want to have a relationship with you. And he kept on calling me. I started blocking his numbers. We didn't have cell phones at the time, I don't think. So we used to have to use star 60. Yeah, star 69 to call the number back. So we had to use star 60. And that's when I learned you can only block 6 numbers, because I blocked 6 numbers. And then he called me from a different number. And then I tried to block that number and it said that my list was full. So I had to go on this mission of unblocking numbers to block the new number that he was calling me from. This dude was going to pay phones. He was going over his friend's house because, again, we didn't have cell phones. But he was going all these different places to call me. So the best thing to do is to just change your phone number, okay? Where and if he gets that phone number, and then something I didn't put in here. Okay, I did. Number three, not reporting Mr. Patel to the police. How is it that this man kidnapped you? You take a day off work and you wait for your employer to reach out to you, then you tell your employer what happened. This is what fuels a lot of mad people. Like, madness is when you don't take because they interpret everything. They deal with fantasy. So a crazy person is going to interpret you not calling the cops as star 67. Okay. But a crazy person will interpret you not calling the cops as You really want the attention. See, a lot of times what we have a tendency to do is we keep trying to place logic on a crazy mind. You can't. I've done that when I was young. I've sat there and talked to men who were obsessed, men who already made up their mind about me. And I used to think like most young women, I can talk him. I just got to talk to him. I'm just going to reason with him, which is why I got in that dude's car in the first place. And ended up almost being kidnapped and then running for my doggone life or what have you, because I thought that if I got in the car, I thought that if I talk to him, he'll understand. You got to stop thinking like that. But in cases like this, when things start going to the left, and when you tell a person to stop contacting you, and you start getting a large amount of messages, communicate. I'm going to call the cops, but you have to follow through. Number 4, accepting gifts from Mr. Patel. Accepting gifts from Mr. Patel. I cannot say this enough. You don't accept gifts from a man that you're not interested in. Period. Young ladies, I got to deal with the 30-year-olds and I got to deal with Gen Z. I know sometimes y'all are you still at that young stage where you're materialistic and you want that ring, that new cell phone, you want all of that stuff. That stuff will get you killed if you take it. Because once you take something from a man, in a lot of cases, especially if he's not mentally and emotionally healthy, right then and there he feels like you owe him, which is why he told her to repay him. He was putting money in her accounts. He got her a new cell phone. Then he put monitoring. He was able to monitor that cell phone. He did all that stuff, and because she was materialistic, she's sending 2 signals out. She's saying, "No, I don't want you. No, you're too old for me. No, I don't. No, 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 no. Oh my God, thank you. The new iPhone. Oh my gosh, you put money in my account. Thank you." You cannot do that, right? It creates a soul tie. And there are 20. I'm going to do a book where I'm going to deal with the 21 soul ties. Finances is a soul tie. Sometimes you can soul tie to yourself financially. So when it comes down to a guy, if a guy is posting money and giving you money or what have you, and he's romantically interested in you, and you know he's doing that, and you don't like him, you better hit resend. Y'all better stop being obsessed with money. Y'all better stop being obsessed with material things. This is one of the reasons I preach this, and I preach it till the cows come home. Whatever it is that you want, go get it for yourself. Because a lot of y'all, you won't buy what you like. I know too many women that want a brand new cell phone but won't invest in it. You know why? Because they used to mommy and daddy doing it for them. They'll get the money. They'll put the money in bundles. They'll put the money in a bunch of crazy stuff, but they'll want the latest iPhone, right? This is an iPhone 12. I haven't seen a reason to go to iPhone 13 because they said it was pretty much the same as this iPhone 14. So this is an iPhone 12. Once something comes out that I want, something that's better than the iPhone 12, once they have another iPhone potentially that I want, I'm gonna buy it. I'm not gonna play the damsel in distress and allow a man to come out and say, I got you the iPhone. I got you that. You good. No, 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 thank you. No, thank you. Unless, we're potentially dating and he's healthy mentally and emotionally. I've known him for a time or what have you. And don't even think size of gift, because I know I'm talking about the iPhone. I don't want you to think, well, if it's something expensive, but dinner. No, there are crazy people out there that feel like if they buy you dinner, you belong to them. Y'all, listen, if you got teenage daughters, you got nieces, you got cousins, you got sisters, please let them hear this. Because a lot of young ladies make that mistake because of materialism. Most young women are materialistic. They make the mistake because of materialism. And a man like Patel will stalk them and say, well, because you took the gift, you're gonna have to sleep with me. And they actually do feel it. They do. The guy feels entitled and the woman feels obliged. Okay, I did take it. I can't give it back. I want to keep it. So I'm just gonna do it one time. I'm just gonna do it one time. I'm gonna kiss him one time. You kiss an obsessed dude, you can forget about it. You can go ahead and start calling your angels and asking them to pack up everything because he deals with obsession. Okay, so don't take gifts from somebody that you're not interested in. Number 5, getting in his car to avoid a scene. How is it that you're so worried about the people around you? You're so worried about the people around you and what they're going to think. I don't want to create a scene. So let me get in the car with this dude that sent me 185 text messages in 20 minutes. Let me get in a car with this guy that sent me 1,000 text messages in 8 hours. Let me get in a car and try to talk some sense into him. Let me get in a car. Y'all want to get a car with him and be like, listen, I think you're an amazing guy. But I'm 19, you're 33, you got worms, and I don't want worm. Nothing you say it, because when you're dealing with an obsessed person, they've already made up their mind. Period, point blank. Sister Caitlin, you're awesome. Thank you, sis. God bless you. They've already made up their mind. Period, point blank. There's no reasoning with them. They got a Leviathan spirit, a strong one at that. They got a Jezebel spirit, a strong one at that. There's no reasoning with them. They're not going to hear you. They're not going to listen. So you needed this scene. She needed that scene. That was her protection right there in that moment, that scene. But she got in the car. She missed her moment. She missed her opportunity. And she could have ended up like that 16-year-old girl, because he could have got upset with her in that car, constantly rejecting him, and he could have crashed into something and taken her life. So don't do that. Now, young women often find themselves, let's see, the victims of stalking, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why a lot of you get stalked. Again, for those of you who didn't listen in the beginning or weren't here in the beginning, I am not victim blaming. My objective is to protect, to provide, to give you information I learned over the course of time, that mistakes I made back when I was younger that could have cost me my life. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm talking about me having real stalkers, not that fake stalker stuff, but real stalkers. So I already know it's inevitable. You're going to offend somebody who would rather you speak to people who are demonized, knowing good and well the demons in them know that the demons in those dudes can't hear you. So that's why those demons be like, speak to those men, tell them this. Why would I do a message to people who don't have a sound mind? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Young women often find themselves the victims of stalking because, one, they play with seduction. I don't care. I don't care. I know that we live in a society where skin matters, that we want to show off our skin, right? I told y'all when I was younger, I used to like to show off my belly button because I had the little snatch waist, little mole under my stomach. So I wanted to show off my little mole. I thought that was cute. And I didn't realize that I was playing with spirits. And I didn't realize that. Whenever I remember being in Sears parking lot, for whatever reason, that memory is in my head. I remember being in Sears parking lot and seeing this guy, and I knew I wasn't attracted to him. Didn't want the dude, saw him looking at me, coming toward me. He started talking to me, and I remember talking to him, and I had on a shirt that covered my whole body. And I just remember stretching just so he could see my stomach. I remember doing that. I remember doing that. We'll do, definitely will do. I remember doing that, stretching so he could see my stomach and pulling my, and I remember just like I wanted him to do, he locked. That's what I wanted. He locked. He said, "You got a pretty stomach. You got a pretty stomach." I was like, "What?" He said, "Lift your shirt again." I was like, "What?" Lifting my shirt, what have you, because that came from rejection. That came from rejection. So be careful that you're not out here using those wiles. There's a thing called powers, okay? And a lot of times powers or demonic powers, they can be in a body part. And so if you got hazel brown eyes, don't use them to seduce a man. If you got gray eyes or if you got bedroom eyes, don't use them to sit there and stare at a man and play with him, because trust me, this is one thing I remember saying when I was in the world. I used to think it was funny to play with in men's head until I came across crazy for real, because you will always have those times when you come across guys who are mildly crazy, mildly unhealthy, right? But and it'd be a little light stalking case. It's not even really stalking, but it's just a dude that won't stop calling you, what have you, but he's pretty harmless. And then you use that to flatter yourself. But then when you come across crazy for real, when you come across somebody who's genuinely unhealthy, when you come across somebody who really doesn't have any constraints because they haven't guarded their heart, that's when you realize how dangerous the game is that you're playing. But young women have a problem with seduction. You're still in what I call your baby body. And that's when your metabolism is through the roof and you're all energetic and all that. And a lot of times you have your youthfulness, your collagen is at its highest peak. And a lot of times you utilize those times to play with the power, the feminine wiles. You use that time to play with it. And I can honestly say, I get it, I understand it, and I know it was a lot of fun for me. I ain't gonna sit here on this YouTube and lie to y'all and say it wasn't fun. It was a lot of fun. I used to love playing with my feminine wiles, but don't do that. It could get you killed. Okay, it could get you killed. Number two, they are afraid to say no or offend the men who romantically pursue them. They are afraid to say no. She was afraid to just sit back and say no. She, like, no, thank you. Don't do that. Okay. Sometimes you got to say, hey, no thanks. He got, I said no, thank you. I'm just saying, I feel like you're my wife. Negro, did you not hear me? I said no, thank you. What's wrong with you? Did your mama drop you on your head? You don't have any sense. I'm sorry. I know that sounds carnal, but sometimes you gotta let people know that hey, I'm not the stalker. I'm not stalkable. I'm not stalkable. I'm not gonna be on because people who have demons are attracted to the spirit of fear. You can't tell me otherwise. People who like to stalk are afraid. They love to come across people who are fearful. They're attracted to the spirit of fear. No, thank you. Hit the let me just block. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to make him mad. You better hurt his feelings. Sure, you better hurt his feelings. It's okay. Sometimes you start off, you try to be kind, be nice, what have you, put your boundaries up. But if he don't get it and he starts getting forceful, you need to elevate. If he don't want to get it, don't. This one thing you will never get out of me is fear. Like that's one thing you will never get out of me. Period. Point blank. You will never get fear out of me. At the end of the day, I'd be sitting up here. I'd be like, I told you when I was in the car with that ex that showed me that bullet. I said, "What you gonna do? Throw it at me?" I offend demons because right there in that moment where they're looking for fear, they don't find it. If they're looking for fear in that moment, you're not gonna find it. I'm not gonna be in it. Please take me home. No, I'm trying to figure out how to get out your car. I'm also looking for a weapon. And I'm also planning in my head where to stab you. He got an artery right there. He got an artery. There's another artery right under that arm. I'm plotting. I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to get out of there. So I'm saying that to say, stop with this super nice culture. I don't want to offend. Stop that. Because crazy people play on that. Crazy people play on that. They play on the fact that you're walking around on eggshells with them because they're attracted to fear. Because typically they have a Jezebel spirit, and fear looks too much like Ahab. Love you, thank you. Fear looks way too much like Ahab to them. Okay, so fear is not gonna make them say, "Oh, let me leave you alone." No, fear makes them say, "That ain't no easy catch. I literally have to kill her. That ain't no easy catch." I told you I came out. I forget which parking lot. It was probably Walmart. I think it was Walmart parking lot last week. I get out of my car and this man was sitting in the truck behind me. White guy looking at him doing this right here. I looked at him like this. I was like, and I closed my door and I kept walking. You, when you're dealing with a person, I'm giving you a little demonology advice. Little if I had done this right here and I start that man likely would have got out of his vehicle. He probably would have been sitting in his vehicle when I came out there because he would have found something in me. Maybe that's street smarts, but he would have found something in me. People, when they find fear, it's just like a bully. A bully, if you show fear and allow a bully to bully you, they're going to bully you the next day. When you come to school, they're going to keep bullying you. They're not going to leave you alone. But if they go over there to your home girl, and even though she may not be as strong as them, if she's willing to put up a fight, they'll leave her alone. They'll leave you alone because they come to understand that, hey, listen, this ain't no easy fight. And I've done that over the course of my life. I've always let guys know I'm not going to be that girl that's like, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. I'll probably be like, do it. Okay, you said you bad. Do it. That's how I ended up in an abusive marriage. That dude kept trying to break me, but he couldn't because God put something in me. I'm not telling you to go get in relationships with crazy people and then do crazy things because you lose your life playing with a crazy man. But I'm saying that to say, when you come in contact with a demonized person, you don't be afraid to offend. I'm not telling you to come and go to 10 on a dude immediately. I'm saying just politely decline. After you politely decline, how did he get your phone number? One, but two, if he starts calling, dude, I'll block. I'm gonna block. I'm gonna change my number. But before I change my number, it will be a crazy conversation. Before I change my number, it'll be a crazy conversation. I'm gonna keep it real. My conversation will probably sound like this. Right now, you're showing signs of being crazy. And I'm gonna let you know, I've watched a lot of scary movies. I'm not the girl that believes in stabbing Jason in the leg and running. I'm gonna sever his head. I'm gonna make sure he ain't coming back. It's gonna take time to put them back together again. Okay. So I'm just letting you know I will overkill you. So just please go on about your business. Okay. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not the one. I will overkill you. I will take your Adam's apple and everything, and I will bury your balls in the backyard. So just understand that it's not about to be an easy kill. Sister Monet, I love you. God bless you, sis. Thank you. Thank you. It's not about to be an easy kill. So stop being afraid to say no. Stop being afraid to offend. I've seen too many cases where women have gotten killed by guys they were too afraid to say no. I mean, I was just being nice. He had no friends. Nobody wanted to be his friend. He was an oddball at school. Well, that could be a reason nobody wanted to be his friend. Not to say that the school was good, but sometimes folks are crazy. And other people can see that. And you happen to be one of those people that have the gift of charity and you can't see it because you're just like, hi, um, Dexter, why are you not eating? Here, you can have my sandwich. My mom fixed tuna fish, and I absolutely hate tuna fish. So you can have that. You give that tuna fish sandwich to Dexter, you might as well start counting down your days because Dexter's not healthy mentally. He's going to take that to mean that you're the one, and he's going to fantasize. Next thing you know, Dexter will take you all the way out of this. Like the last thing you'll see is Dexter hovering over you as he strangles you and he's crying. He'd be like, it didn't have to end like this. It didn't have to end like this. All because you wanted to be nice. Number three, young women often find themselves victims of stalking. Number three, they're materialistic. We already talked about it, so I'm not going to stand materialistic. This leads to them accepting gifts from men that they're not interested in. We already talked about that, so I'm not going to stay there. But stop being materialistic. There are more things in life to a bunch of material things. At the end of the day, I got material things in here, y'all. And it's funny. I buy stuff and I do like anybody else. I buy it and I lose interest in it. I'll get it and I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then I put it down. And what that has done, and maybe that's an age thing, but it's made me less materialistic, right? For me, I think what's more important are memories. I'm not so interested in that fancy watch. If I want it, I'll get it for myself. I'm more interested in creating memories. I'm more interested in things like that. I'm not so interested in all that other stuff. So stop being materialistic. Number four, they allow unwanted men to mildly stalk them because they sometimes like the attention. You couldn't even tell me I was lying if you wanted to. I'm going to say that again. They allow unwanted men that they're not attracted to mildly stalk them because they sometimes like the attention. I know what it feels like as a female. We like attention. Y'all can't even tell me wrong. I'm gonna need y'all to engage me. Sometimes as ladies, we like attention. And even if we're getting it from somebody we're not interested in, we like the attention. We like it. And sometimes that can be okay with a healthy guy because sometimes we'll flirt with a guy or what have you. But that can be okay with some guys. But over the course of time, you're gonna come in contact with crazy. Okay. And if you like the attention and you don't put up a boundary because you're kind of wanting to get that attention, then what you're doing is you're sending mixed signals to him, and he's gonna choose the signal that he prefers. He's going to choose the signal that he prefers. You're just playing hard to get, and then he'll go home, lay in his bed, and fantasize about making love to you. Fantasize about getting you pregnant. Fantasize. He'll probably be in the shower playing with himself, thinking about you, and then he'll convince himself that he had an encounter with you. Next thing you know, he started having demonic dreams about you, and now demons coming having sex with him while wearing your face. And the whole time, this is only increasing the infatuation and the obsession in him. And your days are numbered when you start playing with that. But they allow unwanted men to mildly stalk them because they sometimes like the attention. You gotta block on social media, block on Facebook, ignore, change your phone number. Don't ever entertain it. I'm teaching, and I genuinely can tell that some of you it go on deaf ears because you feel like I know him. Tyrone is not. He's not a killer. He ain't a killer, but don't push him. Okay, Tupac, 19, whatever. But if you keep playing with him, you keep telling yourself that he is harmless. You heard the story about this guy. He was a marketing expert. This man had a positive future. Stop thinking that because people have good careers that they won't risk it all. Stop thinking that because they got good careers or they happen to be intelligent. Some of the craziest folks I've come in contact with were smart. Some of the craziest people I've come in contact with had high IQs. Okay, there are two crazy folks I've come in contact with. I heard my pastor talking about one time. He said this in a sermon some years ago, and I still remember it because I started screaming. But it's true. Two people you'll come in contact with that are the craziest ones. Y'all ready? People sometimes who are incredibly smart and people who are incredibly attractive. He was talking about the attractive ones. Sometimes the craziest people you can come in contact with, they look like angels. I'm the stalking cases I dealt with were with really attractive men. Men that you look at and it makes it hard for them to believe it in court because they look at him and be like, he's good looking. He can get any woman that he wants. Well, can you tell him that? Can you go tell him that? Some of the craziest stalking stories that you'll ever contact is not going to come from Cross-eyed Tyrone. Cross-eyed Tyrone deals enough with rejection. He'll just call you a B and keep it moving. Right. Them dudes that have angel faces and dimples and all of that stuff. And you sitting up over there thinking, well, I ain't got to worry about him because he got a good job and he got a pretty face and drives a nice car. Dude, cray as heck. Cray as heck. You're not going to get through to him because he's not accustomed. Even though he deals with rejection, he's not accustomed to it. He's not accustomed to it. Women don't usually reject him. He's able to finesse his way in. Okay, number 5. They don't establish or enforce boundaries. I'm going to ask the ladies something, and I want you to answer me. How many of you have written down, like literally take a pen and pin some boundaries as it relates to romantic interest and guys that are interested in you? How many of you done that? Most people have not. So you are a walking country, a walking world without a constitution. So the Bible says, guard your heart for out of it pours issues. Like, how many of you have a personalized constitution? I said I was going to do a book on that or what have you that would allow you to create your personalized constitution. But how many of you have a personalized constitution? You have to establish them. I need you to create a constitution, and your constitution should be continuously growing. You can get a whole notebook. It should be growing because you're learning over life. Okay, I just came in contact with this dude. Let me put this in the constitution. I will not engage in eye contact beyond 5 minutes. And some of you got to understand, some of you do have beautiful eyes, right? You maybe you got gray eyes, maybe your eyes slant a certain way or what have you. And sometimes people get caught up in your eyes. They get caught up in that. So you got to be aware of that, what have you. So I know this girl, she told me, she said she stopped giving guys, it's like she would break contact after a while. I'm not telling you have to go to the extreme. I am saying that you do want to make sure that you're aware, regardless of what your eyes look like. You want to be aware because sometimes staring a person in the eyes can send a message to them. Because when they're staring at you, they think they're communicating with you, and you may be staring at them, and they're taking that to mean that you're interested, and there's this special chemistry between us and nobody else understands. Okay, that's what they're thinking. All right. They don't establish or enforce boundaries. So one of the things I'm telling you, I need you guys to start creating a constitution. You can't cuss me out. That's a part of my constitution. You can't call me out of my name. That's a part of my constitution. You can't raise your voice at me. That's a part of my constitution. With your constitution, there should be penalties. Here's the penalty. Cuss me out. This is what you get, a warning shot. Cuss me out the second time, I'm going to drop you. I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to disconnect from you, and I'm going to take my space from you. Cuss me out a third time, you won't block, and you're done. Where's your personalized constitution? And my constitution is not for romantic interests, it's for everybody, family included. I have a personalized constitution. I have boundaries around me. So you need to have yourself some boundaries. You need to be able to establish them in your own heart. The reason you keep dealing with your emotions and you keep making mistakes saying, dang it, I should have gave that guy my phone number, is because you don't have any constitutions. And because you don't have a constitution, you're leaving yourself to your that moment. And sometimes you can catch a guy and he's just kind of aggressive and what have you. Can I say this? Can I say this? Sometimes, even cases of sexual assault, it's because we are afraid to set boundaries. Let's talk about it. Sometimes while it's the fault of the predator, and it's never the fault of the victim. You got to understand the victim has to use wisdom to prevent You got to think, because we can't yell at the predator because the predator is not going to hear you. I had to talk to the victim. Sometimes our mistake is we went to his house knowing that he liked us, and we went there anyhow. When I was assaulted, when this guy tried to rape me, violent, choking the whole night, I was 19 years old. I had a boyfriend. I had a fiance, not a husband. I had a fiance, but I had a guy to call me. You guys know the story, to call me and say, "Hey, Tiff, I'm back in town." And he had been in Afghanistan, Iraq, I don't remember where, but he had been in the war. And he said, "I'm in town for a week, a couple of weeks, or however long he's going to be in town. I want to see you." I said, "No, because I got a boyfriend." And he was like, "Tiff, you and I, we always been cool. We always been friends." Oh, what have you? I was like, "Yeah," but what I remember was that he was always, trying to talk to me. He made some advances at me a couple of times or what have you. But he'd always respected me, like when I would push, like, boy, what have you. So he said, "I bought you some jewelry back from overseas." Because I was young and materialistic, I said, "Jewelry from overseas? Jewelry from overseas?" And the next thing you know, I went over to his house. Get over to the house. There are two young ladies sitting in the dining room, which was connected to the living room. I remember they were sitting on the floor with their backs against the wall, and I smelled the strong smell of marijuana. And I thought, "Oh, this stinks." And he said, "Yeah, my niece." He said, it was his niece and his friend. He was like, "Let's go to the back so we won't have to smell that." I took my silly behind to his bedroom with him with 100% in my mind. Nothing's going to happen. I got a man. I'm going to get this jewelry. I'm going to talk to him for like 5, 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops, and then I'm going to leave. That literally, that was what was in my mind. Literally, I was being materialistic. I didn't want to just take the jewelry and leave. So I'm like, let me go talk to him. Oh, what have you? Oh, what have you? And when we get into the room, we try to close the door. I sat on the bed and I put my foot in front of the door. When he tried to close, I put my foot there. I ended up with one of the most horrific testimonies that I have to this day, was being assaulted and strangled by a man. This man was strangling me while he was trying to assault me because I was fighting back. So I'm saying that to say, I could have lost my life in that moment because I was materialistic. I could have lost my life in that moment because I didn't have any boundaries up. I could have. It's by the grace of God that I'm still here. It's by the grace of God that I'm still here. So I'm saying, don't sit up there and think that it's okay to be materialistic, and don't think that it's okay to deal with crazy folk. Did I call the cops on this guy? No, I didn't. I didn't call the cops because this young lady, I was so afraid of what the police would say about me. This was not too long after the case with Mike Tyson and the Miss America woman. And I remember they were talking about how she went to his hotel room and all that, and America was ripping her apart. And I remember thinking that's what they were going to do to me, because you went to his house, one, then you went to his bedroom, two, you were sending messages to him. You were sending messages to him. And the next thing you know, I found myself fighting some guy that's determined to do what he wanted to do, or what have you. So he didn't succeed because I put up a fight, and because God was with me. I won't say and because God was with me, but I put up quite a bit of a fight. I put up quite a bit of a fight. But you have to establish and enforce boundaries. Without boundaries, a lot of times you will go and you will leave yourself to moments like that where you have to make a quick decision. But if you already have some boundaries in place, you already know, oh no, one, I don't go to men's houses. Two, if you find yourself in a guy's house, I don't go to guys' bedrooms. You can come outside, we can talk outside. I'm not going to your bedroom. Three, I'm not taking gifts from somebody that I'm not. You gotta have some stuff in place, okay? So I'm telling you this, to create yourself a personalized constitution. It may save your life, or can save you from being stalked. So number six, they wait too long to report stalking. Number six is they don't. Number five is they don't establish or enforce boundaries. Number six, they wait too long to report stalking. A lot of times you question, is he stalking me? No, if you feel like that, you're being stalked. So you have to you communicate with the person and say, "Hey, I'm asking you kindly to leave me alone." And then you got to start reporting those incidents. Sometimes you may not be able to file a police, you may not be able to file charges, but at minimum, file police reports, record the incidents. But again, make sure you change your phone number, but don't wait too long to report stalking, okay? Number seven, they give their phone numbers away too easily. Number seven, a lot of you give your phone numbers away too easily. It's too many men that got your phone number. which is why if something happened to you, police have to go on a long thing trying to figure out, okay, we found 8 guys in her phone that she talked to in the last 2 years, and we had to interview them all to try to figure out which one of them potentially had motive. We had Leroy, but Leroy said he hadn't talked to her in about 9 months, so we scratched him off the list. We were able to confirm that she had no interaction with Leroy. They got to go through a long list, and sometimes you could be somewhere kidnapped, and moments matter, time matters, and you can end up losing your life because you're talking to everybody on the phone. Everybody got your phone number. Everybody got your phone number. I'm telling you, when it comes down to me, I believe this. I don't want any man to have my number but my husband. So if I'm talking to a guy, I want my number to be clear, just me and him, period, point blank. I don't want some other dudes interrupting. Just like I wouldn't want my man to be sitting up there and there's other women calling and texting him. I just think that's weird. That's my ex-girlfriend. Okay, well, tell her I said you can take the ex from in front of her name because I'm about to be an ex. I ain't got time for that. But don't be out here giving your number to everybody. Sometimes you give your number away because, and I think I have to mention that. Sometimes you give your number away because you're afraid of rejecting a man in his face. And I know that it's relatively dangerous now. Some men don't handle rejection very well. But I tell women this all the time because, some women feel forced by men to give away their phone number. Some women feel forced, right? They feel scared. They feel intimidated. I think they did a survey, and I think 80% of women said they felt fearful of giving away the wrong number. So one thing, and because when you're telling a guy no, a lot of times they can get aggressive. They can call you out your name. A lot of times women feel fearful. But if you're in a public place, don't worry about it. Just tell him no, no, thank you, and keep walking. When you say no to a person, never do this. No, thank you. And still stand there because right then and there, he's saying you're playing hard to get. You need to, no thanks, and keep it moving. You need to, no thanks, and keep it moving. Keep shopping. Don't stand there and have a conversation. I'm telling you. Don't stand there and have a conversation. No, thank you. And keep it moving. Keep it moving. But they give their phone numbers away too easily. Now, if you're in a case where and I've said this before, but I want to say this. Never should you feel forced to give away your phone number. You shouldn't. Never should you feel. But if you're in a situation where late at night and you feel like this man may be a little bit crazy and you're scared and you want him to believe that y'all could potentially have something, give him your Google Voice phone number. Give him your Google Voice phone. Get you a Google Voice line. It's free. Give him your Google Voice phone number. Let him call that. Because, sometimes right there, when a man deals with rejection, he'll call you right there on the spot, or he'll text you right there on the spot to text. It'll come straight to your phone. Got it? Could you text me back? Text him back from Google. When you get home, change your Google Voice number. But that's only in extreme cases. But get yourself a Google Voice number. Again, it's free. It's $10 to change a Google Voice number. But if in a case where you feel like, hey, I have nobody around, I'm in a potentially dangerous situation, and I don't want this to turn into something ugly, give him your Google Voice number. This is why you want to get one and you want to memorize it. Give him your Google Voice number, and then he's going to call you from there. He's going to text you or call you. He will like, Google Voice? Yeah, that's my Google Voice number. I'll give out my main number. I just have a Google Voice. I use Google. I prefer Google Voice over. I won't say I want to use my main number. I just say I prefer Google Voice over other numbers or what have you. Because Google Voice typically gonna have that. It say your name after the beep. Oh, this is Google Voice. Hey, you got my number. He texts you from Google Voice. Text him back from Google Voice. Make sure you open the app so you don't end up texting them from your phone number. Text him from Google Voice. Let him know, hey, yeah, I'm here. And then right then and there, he said, I'm gonna call you. You say, okay. When you get home, change your Google Voice number. Again, it's just $10. It's just $10. Number 8, they sometimes entertain obsession because they don't think obsession is dangerous. Again, sometimes we just like the attention, and sometimes we like the stories that we get. I think I was one of those young ladies that I used to love the crazy stories that I got. So consequently, I ended up with a bunch of crazy stories. But sometimes young women will entertain, or sometimes women, period, will entertain obsession because they don't think obsession is dangerous. Men too. Men, you got to stop doing that. But sometimes we entertain obsession because we don't think is that, or we'll think that person looks normal. What does crazy look like? Y'all stop thinking that crazy is going to look like some dude with knotted up hair who doesn't brush, comb, or cut his hair, that smells like fish fish chips and booty, that's just sitting there with butter all over. What do you call it? Plaque. We call it butter in Mississippi. Plaque all over his teeth. Obviously, doesn't take care of his 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 hygiene. Cracked lips. That is a sign of somebody that has mental health issues. But sometimes somebody has mental health issues doesn't look like that. They smell. That's what we think. We think that okay, it's something wrong with him, and that's what we look at. And sometimes we don't know that that dude over there with that accounting degree with the suit and the tie, it crack crack. You said butter. Listen, you don't know, boy, dude is crack crack, and you deal with a crazy person. They deal with obsession. They've been dating you for a long time, even though you haven't known them. They've been dating you for a long time, and a lot of times when you get with a crazy person, it's they already got their mind made up about you. That's what makes it dangerous. Is that they don't give themselves the space to say it can potentially not work. If I start talking to a guy, I have to give myself the space to say it could potentially not work between us. So that means I don't lock and load and say, this is it. I got him. We're going to be together forever. No, I have to give myself the space. And with me giving myself the space or giving myself the reality check that, hey, while things sound good now, he could potentially not be the person for me. With me giving me that, that gives me boundaries in what I say. That teaches me boundaries in what I say. So I know not to give him my innermost secrets. I know not to tell him stuff that I wouldn't want out there. I know to be careful with what I say because I know that there's a potential there that we can make. It doesn't matter if he sit there and say, Tiffany, God showed me a long time ago that you're my wife. And I know he saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit, and he got some good church shoes at home. And he know how to do a mean dance. He know how to shout and all of that stuff. And everybody say he's solid. It doesn't, none of that stuff matters. It doesn't mean that it's going to work between us. Sometimes people are good, but they're not good for you. Sometimes people are good, but they're not good for you. So it doesn't mean that it's going to work out between the two of us. It doesn't mean that things are going to, so you always have to give yourself that space in the back of your mind to understand that it may not work because some of y'all are guilty of making plans and putting a period behind it in your mind. So it becomes this thing where it has to come to pass or you're going to lose your mind. I think women do that a lot. And that's the reason why women have trouble getting over guys. Guys, a lot of times, will give themselves options. Most of the time, when a guy is looking at you, there are other women they're looking at. There's nobody on this worldwide internet that's going to tell me I'm a lie. Most of the time, men give themselves options. Even if they are not actively pursuing, men typically have more than one woman in their sights. Women, on the other hand, once we lock and load, we lock and load. We put a period behind it. And then when we put a period behind it, we start dealing with it's got to work. Because I imagine us in Disneyland. I imagine us, I've always wanted to go back to Europe. I imagine us going through Europe and all that other stuff. So when a man walks away, he is giving himself the space of having options in his mind. When a woman walks away, right. Woman walks away, she's still obsessed 3 years later. We planned Disney World and we talked about we were going to go to the Disneyland hotel and we were going to get pregnant because didn't want to go to the hotel around the corner because they got bed bugs and we didn't want to try to consummate on a bed with bed bugs. So we said we're going to get us a room at Disney because they were going to be a little bit more careful and consequently now, I just sat here and planned it. I actually went to Disneyland. I got the prices for the room and all that other stuff. And I talked to them about their suite. They said it's $2,000 a night. We already made it up our mind. We won't get that suite, what have you. So we can overlook Disneyland. We can actually feel like queens, right? And kings. We can actually feel like queens and kings. But they sometimes entertain obsession because they don't think that obsession is dangerous. Well, no, women don't. They're trying to move like men. They're not moving like men. That's why women end up bitter. It don't work with women because God created. The Bible calls women the weaker vessel. Women can't do like men. They can try, but they may move like men. You know how much brokenness it takes for a woman to move like a man. You know how much brokenness it takes for her to do that. And even in the majority of cases, they're not moving like men. They're getting attached. They're just putting on the front for you. They're getting attached. They're just they're just losing hope. They just get to the point where they just be like, okay, I'm gonna do it to him. I'm gonna do it to him. I'm gonna do it to him. Those women be on plenty of fish, goldfish, whatever fish they find. Um, five loaves. Okay, but those women be all over the place, and they'll be sleeping with men. And even though they may be sleeping with multiple men, they're more so gambling, which is the difference between women and men. They're more so gambling to the point where they're basically saying where one of these dudes going, one of these, I'm going to see which one want me. Men are not doing that. If a man is sleeping with five women, he's sleeping with five women. And not one of them in his mind is the one he wants to spend his life with. Not one of them. He'll have a woman that's fun and funny, like kicking it with her a little bit more than the others. Then he got that one over there. He may not like how she looked physically, but he said that she didn't learn some stuff in the bedroom. He just said she does these moves, all that other stuff. So he messed with her, all of that. And because he don't like the way she look, he go see her like 2 a.m, all that. That's how men move. When women try to do like men, they typically are looking for somebody out of the five that's going to choose them. They're looking for somebody out of the five. And because they're used to being rejected, they'll reject the guy, or they'll tell everybody else they're rejecting them. And the next thing, but they're dealing with the pain. They're dealing with the hurt because women are not, we're not wired like men. We're not wired like men. All right. Number 9, they pridefully and egotistically cry wolf when a man is showing interest in them, so much so when they get a real stalker, no one believes them. I'm going to say that again. They pridefully, and this is one I know can be relatively offensive, but you got to hear it all the way out. They pridefully and egotistically cry wolf when a man is showing interest in them. So much so that when they get a real stalker, nobody believes them. I've been a young woman before, and I know how it is to have those moments where you go, girl, you know that guy, Tyrone. He's stalking me now. I told him, boy, stop calling me. He came over to my mama's house last night and everything. I'm like, boy, please. So you keep doing that. When you get a stalker for real, people don't believe you. Tyrone is not stalking. He's just having trouble letting go. And I know there's a fine line between having trouble letting go and stalking. And sometimes you do have to bring attention to the fact you got to bring attention to Tyrone's behavior. But sometimes women will sit back and get on the phone with Tyrone and be like, Tyrone, stop. Leave me alone. It's just egotistical. Leave me alone. At this point, I think you stalking me. You stalking me, Tyrone. You playing. Come on. They'll keep playing that game with Tyrone, and then they'll mess around and pull that game with Earl. And Earl ain't like Tyrone. They'll play that game with Earl. Earl crazy for real. So they'll start telling people in the beginning, girl, I think Earl is stalking me. Because it starts off with light. When you're doing a crazy person, they start off light. Then when they start getting crazy, they be like, girl, he didn't call me. He kept calling my phone all out. Now your friends, they're so used to you saying everybody's stalking you that they don't pay attention anymore. That they just sit up there like, girl, that man crazy. No, it's not until you end up on a milk carton, on a missing poster at a gas station that nobody goes to. It's not until something goes wrong that people knew, no, hey, this is a serious case. Young women do that all the time. I was in high school and even coming out of high school, I remember talking to friends and they would do it all the time. Girl, that man, and I did that. Then he acting like a little stalker. Until I got a real stalker. And I came to see the difference. Like, yeah, what he did was stalking. It was more so pursuing just a little bit of extra aggression in there. But this dude is hiding behind bushes, eating tuna fish out of a can and crying. He's watching movies through my window, movies that I'm watching. He's out there with that tuna fish in a can, watching the movies through my window and crying. This is a different type of crazy. This is a different type of this ain't that he won't stop calling me crazy. This ain't that he bought roses or he sent roses to my job type of crazy. No, this is that this dude showed up at my job. He ain't showered for 8 days. He's sitting in his car wearing the same outfit he wore when I told him to stop calling me. He musty. He got had the hair all over his face and grew. He got plaque that and collected on his teeth. He smelled like onions and butt powder. And he's sitting out in his car in front of my job, waiting on me to get off work. Waiting on me to get off work. He didn't go get himself a traditional weapon. He went and got himself a bow and arrow. He got a bow and arrow in the passenger seat. He got a bow and arrow in the passenger seat. When I go up to him, I'm like, hey, why are you out here? Can you get in the car? Well, can you put that bow and arrow in the back seat? Why does your car smell like onions? Just get in the car. I haven't been able to sleep. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's when you're being stalked. So I'm saying that to say, if you have somebody that's aggressively pursuing, bring it to other people's attention, but don't entertain that person. Make your petitions known. Hey, stop calling me. Leave me alone. I'm not interested. Make your petitions known, change your phone number. But if they go beyond that, that's when you may start dealing with, okay, I think I need to get cops involved. I need to get, some cousins and stuff like that involved. But don't just go out here and call every man that's pursuing you a stalker. Because again, by the time you come across a real stalker, like my tail did on several occasions, when you come across a real stalker, everybody they think you're just in your ego again. It's just you being egotistical, and consequently, like I said, you find yourself in the passenger side with this guy who had a bow and arrow in the driver's seat, and he driving around in the car with you, smelling like onions and outside, and you in the car breathing your last breaths because you thought it was funny to call your exes stalkers. Last one, number 10. They often think they can talk a devil out of being a devil. We already talked about that, so I'm not going to spend time there. You can't convince somebody who's made up their mind about you to stop liking you. You can't talk a demon out of being a demon. You can't reason with a person. The thing about it is, once you communicate, and please share this with your sisters, your baby sisters, your cousins, your aunties. Some of y'all need to share it with your grandmamas because some of them ain't learned. And no, I'm just joking. Most older women typically know. Most older women are settled. But young women in your 20s, a lot of times you're young and you learn a lot of lessons the hard way. And the thing about it is, learning lessons the hard way can be fun and funny, but sometimes it can prove to be detrimental to other people. It can prove to be detrimental to you. So they often think they can talk a devil out of being a devil. You can't. I've tried it way too many times. Literally, I've sat there because I've always been the home girl, right? I thought that, hey, I could get in there because most people can't reason with crazy, but I can. That's what I told myself. I grew up with some crazy folks. Okay, I grew up around this. Listen, I know you think you care about me. I know you think you love me. Okay, and I'm flattered. I'm be honest with you, but there is somebody out there for you, and she's going to treat you so well. And I see a tear come out of his eye. She's gonna treat you so well. Why is this vehicle moving? We're okay. He's just making a few blocks, but she's gonna treat you so well. She's gonna love you. She's going to wrap her arms around you in times. I'm just not her. And he's sitting up there in the car just driving, and wait, we on the freeway at this point. Um, take me home. Why are you're abnormally quiet? You're not gonna leave me. Are we going down a dark road? Why are we heading down this dark road? I just want to talk to you. No, you got a bow and arrow in the backyard in the back seat, and you're driving me off into the woods like a deer. We're not about to play this game. We're not about to play this game because right now, I already know what's about to happen. So we just not doing that. I got on maybe a white t-shirt or something, lime green or what have you, and you haven't showered. So I already know that this is not going to end well or what have you. And I know I can't fake a kiss at this point because I'm going to start vomiting on your lap. So I don't want to go in the woods and be found weeks or years. I don't want them to say we found the skeletal remains of what we believe to be Tiffany. Dental records prove it must be her, and his saliva was all over her strong DNA because he had plaque around his mouth or what have you when he assaulted her or what have you. I don't want to do that. So, by the grace of God, I'm still here. By the grace of God, many of you are still here. So I'm saying that to say you can't be reasonable with an unreasonable person, which is why I preface this message with saying, hey, I'm not making a message to the crazy people because I already knew I was going to have a feminist come on here and be like, why don't you talk to them? Sure, let's go. Okay, I'm creating this message for the crazy guys out there and even the crazy women. I want you to understand that, you know what? God loves you. And whenever you see a woman in a G string, look away. It's very difficult for you. I understand. They ain't listening to that. They're not going to tune into that. They're going to scroll past, you know what? They'll scroll past me until they see a breast. They're going to be like, oh. That's what they're going to do. So I'm saying I'm gonna reach who I can reach. I'm not gonna try to reach the people that I can't reach. God said, "Those who have ears, let them hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying." I'm gonna reach who I could reach. I'm not about to reach nobody. Try to reach somebody that's gonna scroll right past me and not be interested in anything I got to say because he didn't scroll past me and he happened to come across some old lady porn and he like, "Grandma, she reminds me of Grandma." Let me stop. Let me stop. Look, let me stop. Let me stop. So be safe out there. Like I said, share this with your nieces, your sisters, big sisters, little sisters, baby sisters. Tell them, hey, I need you to watch this. This is your homework assignment because you have to learn how to protect your. Because what I just shared with you, a lot of our parents, our mothers, our aunties, our big cousins, they didn't share this kind of stuff with us. And you got way too many people that are 6 feet under that could have been still on the surface of this earth today had they been taught otherwise. You got too many women that play games in crazy men head. And then, like I said, you got too many women out here nowadays that be like, talk to the crazy dudes. Why? Why you ain't speaking there? Watch my comment section. There's gonna be one woman over there. I get tired of it. Women always telling women what they should wear, what they should wear. And my question to you is, okay, give us a solution. I'll wait. I ain't gonna wait that long because I'm hungry. But my question is, give us a solution that's workable, not an argument. These men, okay, so I bring you on a YouTube video and I do a video and you just all bitter. These men, I'm telling you, you haven't reached a single person. Literally, nothing but a bunch of women tuned in and hollered amen, but ain't nothing been changed. You catch that? Nothing been changed because the crazy dudes, like I said, they gonna scroll past you and they gonna be watching an 88-year-old woman twerk on her cane. And the women you're reaching, you're not giving them workable solutions. The only thing you are doing is you're having this rally, this pep rally of sorts, where I'm giving workable solutions and saying, hey sis, putting that tight shirt on them tight pants, there's some dudes that can't handle that. Honestly. It's not you, but they can't handle it. They can't handle you staring at them a certain way. They can't handle it. Their mind is not healthy. So my goal is to say, hey, you with the sanity, let me talk to you. It's not to talk to the people with the insanity because the person with the insanity is not looking, they're not checking for me. Sister Amanda, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you. Right. They looking for grandma twerking on a cane. They sit up there, they like them toothless. They sit up here like it's something about a woman that can take them dentures out because you ain't got to worry about no teeth. Here we go. I'm saying that to say, y'all be careful out here. Be wise. Use wisdom. By the grace of God, I'm still here. But if you knew my entire story, you would understand why I love God so much. Why I say, by the grace of God, I'm still here. Because I played with seduction. I played with mind games. I played in the head of crazy men. And I thought it was fun and funny. By the grace of God, I'm still here. But there are so many people that are not here because they did less of what I did. All right. Them dentures. All right. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.